Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be talking about certain parts that are quite difficult to get for the Mahindra Roxor. And if you turn off the engine, it's quite noisy. And if you talk to Roxor owners, that would be some of the biggest complaints they have with the company, that they can't source these parts. So typically these are not parts that you would expect to have too many of them on hand, because I guess the manufacturer would normally make provision for spares, but wouldn't imagine right off the bat that this part would fail at a rate which is as high as it might be for some Roxors. And of course that depends a lot on the kind of use that the Roxor is being put to. So without taking too much of your time, I will go ahead and detail the 4 parts which I believe are the most demanded parts for the Roxor, or parts which are almost impossible to get as of right now. They might not be the highest priority because the volume, the demand is not so high, but the demand is there. People are looking for these parts, and they are very, very difficult to come by. Alright, the first one I will talk about is the starter. So I'll pop up the hood here. I myself am not really sure where it's located, but I know there's lots and lots of people who are seeking to get a starter for their Roxor. I don't see anything on that side. Let's come over here. Oh, there it is. Nestled in there, right down there. So that's the starter unit, and lots of people are trying to source starters for their Roxors, and they don't seem to be having much luck. So it's right behind this panel. So Beartooth Harley-Davidson, I believe that's the name, based out of Billings, Montana. They apparently have a solution for that, and the most common reason why the starter would go out is just take a look at the Roxor. So most people who buy this would take this to go and play in the mud, and then the forward water which comes right high. If you forward water and it gets to about there, if you look online, you see many videos where people have the Roxor all the way up here in water. So you get it there, and then mud gets into the starter, and then you take it home. Everything is fine, park it, and after a couple of days the mud dries out and becomes almost like concrete. So the next time you jump into your Roxor, you try to start it and it just won't start. So it's not really that the starters are bad per se. It's just that I think, from what I understand, they lack some kind of weatherproofing, so that any dirt, grime that gets in there, sticks and then hardens, and next time you try to start the Roxor, it wouldn't start. Rebuilding the starters might be an option, but most people I've seen, when they try to start the Roxor, it doesn't start. They head straight to get a new starter, which they don't have time to mess around with rebuilding the starter. Alright, that's the first thing. The second one I want to talk about is going to be the gauge cluster. If you guys remember one of the earlier videos I did, we did talk about this gauge cluster. It is manufactured right here in the United States by a vendor. But the problem with the gauge cluster is that the vendor wouldn't sell directly to retail customers. They are OEM strictly. So that brings up a problem. If you own a Roxor and your gauge cluster goes out, you are out of luck. the company would sell it to you. It's customized, so when you turn on the ignition, you see it says Mahindra. Now mine is a little bit messed up. I don't know why it says that. It should show the number of miles and hours, but it's gone a little crazy. So yeah, that's what the gauge cluster looks like. It's also a highly sought after item, and nobody seems to be able to get the gauge cluster. The third item I want to talk about, and this one is from personal experience. There is a harness that was made when the Roxor first came out that you could use and connect to the light bar that would go on top of the rollover protection system, and at the same time could also be hooked up to the sound bar. So they actually had 3 different harnesses. One that would work for the sound bar by itself, one that would work for the sound bar and the light bar, and one for the light bar by itself. So that harness, the combination harness that would work for the sound bar and the light bar, it's impossible to get right now. No matter where you look. Sherwood Tractor, they have very good inventory. They didn't have it. So if Sherwood can't get it, I don't think anybody can, except somebody has maybe an old stock, then they can list it maybe on eBay or somewhere, and that's the only way you can get that harness, but it's impossible to get it. And then the fourth thing and the final one is it's impossible, well, as of right now, but you could get an equivalent. But if you had an automatic transmission on the Roxor, that OEM supplier stopped supplying their automatic transmissions to the Roxor manufacturer. So if you have an automatic transmission and it goes out, hopefully you still maintain your adapter plate that hooks it up to the engine. That way you can source that transmission. It's a fairly common transmission, heavy duty, found in some very luxury high-end cars, BMW, Bentley, and I think also some the newer Ford Rangers. But you will need that adapter plate, and it's supposed to be a sealed self-learning transmission. So when you hook it up to your Roxor, hopefully with time it learns how your driving pattern goes. So those are the 4 things I had to share with you guys. 4 Roxor parts that are very difficult to source. The starter, the gauge cluster, the harness for the light bar and the sound bar, and finally the automatic transmission. So far I haven't seen anybody looking for an automatic transmission, but the OEM stopped supplying Roxor. So if you were to look for that, you would have a hard time. Anyways, that's what I had to share with you guys. Let's jump in here and go for a little spin. There. Step on the clutch. Nice. Always starts first try. Sorry for the bumpy ride. Nice. And let's turn right here. Alright guys, that's what I had to share with you. Thanks for watching, and catch you guys on the next video.